Hey, everybody, welcome to Fatso Radio. How you doing? How you doing? This episode of Fatso Radio and every episode of Fatso Radio is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. Volpe Martial Arts is KW's, that's Kitchener-Waterloo, and Guelph and Cambridge. The whole area's hottest, newest Kung Fu and Hapkido school. That's right, open for over a year now, but KW's hottest, newest Kung Fu and Hapkido school. Sifu Adam is my brother, and he brings you his lifelong passion of martial arts right to your door. Check it out, volpemartialarts.com. This episode, also I want to give a shout out to my friend Mario over at El Barbudo Co. El Barbudo Beard Company, elbarbudoco.com. Check them out, L-E-L Barbudo, you can figure it out, co.com. Amazing beard products, folks, amazing beard products, beard oils, beard balm, beard butter, good for the skin, really treating the skin, treating the hair as well, but very treating the skin. Amazing products, amazing scents. Got 4 or 5 different scents from a Latino kind of perspective. New products coming out all the time. Handmade, local stuff, folks. Local. Check it out. elbarbudoco.com. All right, folks, we get into it tonight. I get into a little bit of a different feel. You see the little background here. What are we talking about tonight? We're going to talk about some new things. Check it out. As always, Lily, thank you for the theme song. Take us away, Lily.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, our very first podcast show.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fatso Radio. How you doing? Episode number 104. No, not 104. Episode number 105. And welcome to episode number 105. Fatso Radio, although I have a different background tonight. I just want to give you a recap. What is Fatso Radio? Fatso Radio, normally, or most of my episodes, right? I talk about fat loss, weight loss, and how do I do it? I do it and I promote it and I talk about it through a high-fat diet. So the traditional way to lose weight for a lot of people is either a low-fat diet or just calorie restrict. Right? If you restrict your calories, you can lose weight, but it's not sustainable and it's not a good idea, in my opinion, a lot of opinions of a lot of other people. Or if you do a low-fat diet, it's not a good idea because you're missing a lot of hormones. You potentially can miss a lot of hormones, a lot of things that your body really, really needs. But this episode is not about weight loss. I'm going to talk about it for a few seconds in the beginning, but really it's about what else I'm interested in. And the question is, what else am I interested in? I'm interested in a lot of different things. And Fatso Radio and me as myself, Carlo, are going to be venturing on into a lot of different things, a lot of different areas, I hope anyway, or at least a couple different areas, see where that goes. And if it takes off, we'll see where it goes. If not, I have Fatso Radio. And if not, I still have my family, and that's the most important thing, right? And I still have my health, thankfully, for now. Forever, I hope. Forever is a long time. Anyway, what is Fatso Radio? Again, it's the podcast that I talk to you about and I tell you my stories of how I've lost weight and how I've seen other people lose weight and continue to improve their health, not just through weight loss, but through just improving your health all over, right? Overall health, whether it's your joint pain or whether it's digestive issues or whether it's heart issues, whether it's cancer or whether it's all sorts of issues, neurological issues, emotional issues, all these issues that a lot of people are trying to attack and a lot of people are finding great success with having a high-fat diet. So this episode is not about that. Although it's always my go-to. That's the first thing I want to say is that in the world or in the talk of well-being and kind of well-rounded, holistic or kind of full body health, full mind body health, I understand that food is not the only thing that's important. I do believe, however, that food is a fantastic basis or fantastic foundation for good health, because if you're putting bad food in your body, I think that you're uphill right from the beginning. So if you're putting good food into your body and food that your body uses well and efficiently, and the food that our bodies, I believe, and a lot of people have believed that our bodies have evolved, and our people, we as animals, as creatures, have evolved eating this food. So a high-fat diet, again, great for weight loss, great for whatever ails you, essentially. But what else am I into? First thing I want to kind of dive into is politics. Politics, when I say politics, a lot of people I know kind of cringe, and a lot of my family, like my friends, and even myself for a long time kind of cringe, and I still do cringe sometimes. It kind of depends on who says it, I guess. But I cringe sometimes when people say politics. A lot of people do, because it's one of those things that people are afraid to talk about, right? A lot of people are afraid to talk about religion as well, and I think it's because of the same reasons, because we're not sure where exactly not only do we're not sure, not only are we not sure oftentimes where we sit ourselves in our own opinions, but it's such a volatile climate, right? It's such a volatile discussion oftentimes, or at least we've been told it's volatile, or at least we see examples where it's volatile, but it doesn't always have to be that way. There is definitely room for reasonable discussion, reasonable discourse, and that's what we need to do. And that's one of the great things about podcasts. We can talk in long form. You can get a lot of things down. You can listen and learn a lot of things, but you can really discuss and really unwrap. Like I've always said, and everybody that podcast really, I'm sure, talk about the idea that you can unwrap and you can really unravel and dig deep into topics, because topics aren't going to be solved, or these major issues in our life are not going to be solved by these 10-second sound bites. They're not going to be solved by a 2-minute interview or a 5-minute or even 15 or 20-minute interview that you're going to see on mainstream television. You're not going to see a 2 or 3 hour interview on mainstream television or mainstream news. It's going to be on the internet. It's going to be on YouTube or Facebook or wherever else I'm blessed to have my my content on. So politics, it's one of those things, like I said, it's that I really stayed away from, and not only because I've heard, the old people or the seniors in my life, or the aunts and the uncles and the, the wise people, maybe they're wise for saying, stay away from politics or don't talk about politics at all. But I think in reality, it's something that everybody needs to at least address at some point, not because you need to get into politics, not because it's something you need to kind of fill your life with, but it's good to know, right? And you need to know, because these are the politicians and the laws that are being made and the laws that are being enforced, and your rights that are being changed, whether it's temporary or not. A lot of these matter. All of this stuff matters, because it just matters. It matters on how you live. It matters on whether you leave your house or not. It matters on how you leave your house, on in what conditions. Are you safe? Are you not safe? It goes both ways, right? It's not like it's not like everything they're doing is terrible, but it's also not like everything they're doing is great, right? The reason why government is in power, and I believe the purpose of the government is to serve us, right? But we need to keep them in check, right? Not by being jerks, but just by really keeping them in check, by doing a reasonableness check, a sanity check on everything they do. They're public servants, right? They do things for us, and there are proxies. So it's important to talk about. My political stance. Where do I even start? I grew up, I'm a child of immigrant. My dad's an immigrant, my mother's not an immigrant, but her family's been here for many generations. But definitely we grew up with that immigrant mentality, that hardworking, that blue collar, both sides of my family, blue collar mentality, hardworking mentality. And I didn't really follow politics, of course, as a young child, but definitely we were that middle class family, that like I said, blue collar family. So I guess that traditionally maybe fits into the conservative side of things, but not really, because the liberal side of things, or at least I'm speaking in the Canadian perspective, or spectrum rather, the conservatives on one side and on the right, which would be kind of akin to the Republicans. And then the left would be the liberals, which would be kind of, akin to the Democrats on the left. So the more liberal. So I don't really know where my family kind of stood when I was really young, but growing up, it kind of seemed like we were conservative minded, but more on the liberal side. Like, we understand that times were changing. It seemed like we were just kind of a liberal, a family, a little bit more liberal family, I guess. But maybe it's just the truth is maybe the kids in our family, as 4 kids, were more liberal minded, but my dad was probably more conservative, and his parents were probably more conservative. And I'll talk about that as well, because there's a spectrum, and there's a journey on that spectrum. And I think that it's pretty inevitable for a lot of people, almost everybody that I can see, that I can talk to, that's willing to talk to about it. But on the left side of things, the liberal side of things, I think we would have called it more than the progressive side, right? Progressive. The liberal side, things like more free speech and, thinking about the little guy, thinking about equality, making sure that equal rights, women's rights, things like child welfare, just welfare in general, right? Healthcare, public healthcare, public schooling, publicly funded healthcare, publicly funded schooling, things like that. These were more of the kind of the socialist, the social democratic right side. And it's like, growing up that way, to me, it seemed like we were living in a conservative country, but the push was to go liberal. The push was to go progressive, and that seemed like it was the push. And I think that's what happened, actually, right? I think that the country did become progressive, and it did progress, which is great. And I think I understand why a lot of people say that it swings both ways. It goes to the left, then it goes to the right. And I think it has to, because I think it has to course correct. But nonetheless, I think that I am, or definitely was, more on the left side of things, progressive, which would consider myself liberal, right? If I was old enough to be considered a hippie back in the old days, and maybe I would have considered myself a hippie. Definitely I was someone, and I still someone who thinks that drugs should be decriminalized. Is that a left thing? I don't know. It seems like it was a left side of the spectrum topic, left side of the spectrum issue, but it seems like things are switching these days, because it seems like that's something that is really geared towards freedom, right? Freedom of expression, freedom not even only of expression, but freedom of consciousness. That's one of the most fundamental freedoms in my mind, is if you can't be free to handle your own consciousness, well, what good is your other kinds of freedoms, right? Because it's what your own mind, it's what's in your mind is what's most important. It's what it keeps you sane, right? So again, the whole idea of legalizing drugs, that was a left kind of a thing. The idea of equal rights seemed like a left kind of a thing, but it wasn't just a left thing, but it seemed like that, for me at least. Equal rights, women's rights, minorities, everything from Black rights, but also Native rights. It seemed like it was more of a left thing for me. These days, I don't know if it was a change of the world, as a change of me having children and being in a committed serious relationship and having a house and having jobs and careers, and I don't know if it's that, or if it's, like I said, the world has changed, because now I find myself thinking more on the idea of the conservative way of thinking, as far as, hey, fiscally conservative, small government, right? Lower taxes, more privatized things, relying more on the market. But again, there's regulations that need to be played, or you got to pull in the reins somehow, right? So is that happy medium, right? Is that middle ground? And then also, though, I believe more on the freedom, I guess, as far as like to be more independent, right? Like kind of a libertarian point of view, where I was like, if I'm not bothering you, do whatever you want to do in your own house, right? As long as you're not hurting anybody else. And that, funny enough, speaks to a ton of the things that the left side is going for and marching for and talking for, and I agree with all that stuff. So that's why I'm really have been torn. That's why I've kind of on my journey through the spectrum. Like, there's things that I am more conservative now than I was before. I when I was younger, I would have been more up to thinking of just being okay with a little bit of everything. And I don't know if that's maybe a little bit of a naive thing of being younger, but I was really more okay with a little bit of everything, or not a little bit of everything, but I was just more okay with everything on the idea of like, I don't really know, it doesn't really affect me, so I shouldn't really have an opinion on it. Well, some things don't affect me, sure, but some things that don't affect me, I should still have an opinion on it, because they may affect me in the future, or they affect the people that I love and the people I care about. So that's changed as well, right? So the idea of things like, they're big topics, right? Healthcare. I feel that universal healthcare. I feel that absolutely there should be universal healthcare around the world, right? But at the same time, I know that's complicated, because at the same time, I blame our healthcare system tremendously for just wasting tons and tons of money by barking up the wrong tree, right? By doing the wrong things and by giving the wrong advice and by really just following the wrong path for a long time. So could there be a ton of money saved? Yeah, there could be tons and trillions of dollars saved every single year in our healthcare system if we had things figured out better, and if we did things better, and if we didn't waste a lot of money. So is it good that the government pays for that? The government doesn't pay for that. We pay for it, right? In Canada, our taxes are high. We pay for it. Even in the US, your taxes you're paying for it somewhere or another, whether it's part of your compensation through your employment, whether you to pay monthly, an insurance plan, you're paying for it. Nothing is free. Nothing is free. So if nothing is free, and you're going to pay for it, I think a more conservative way, it seems to be more conservative way, a more Republican way, is to say, if I'm going to pay for it, just tell me what it is and I'll pay for it. And if I'm going to pay for it, let me have a choice of who I can go to get it from as well. And that's an option that a lot of people don't have. So the idea oftentimes, and these are just kind of ideas that a lot of people go back and forth, and I'm just throwing things on the wall and see what sticks. And let me know what you think as well, because I'm really interested in this and I want to see where this goes, because there are things that we need to cross. Essentially, we need to cross the aisle on everything, right? Is bipartisan, right? Bipartisan. Both sides need to agree on everything. And maybe the answer is another, in the US, maybe the answer is another big party coming up. Maybe there will be another political party. Maybe the answer in Canada is more parties coming up. I don't know. I don't know if that's the answer, or just better people running. I mean, it's a hard job, right? And no one is perfectly fit for it. I would arguable to say no one's ever well fit for it, but of course some people are going to be well fit for it. But it's one of those jobs where it's like, it's probably the only job that's like that. You're trying to do the best you can. You're trying to give the voice of your people, your constituents, people that you're speaking on behalf of. And then once you get there, who knows what it's like, right? Things change, the big moving parts, a lot of moving parts. But the idea is that you should be able to see from the other person's perspective. And I hope, and that's like one of the most difficult things in life, right? Is putting yourself in someone else's shoes, looking at a situation from another angle, right? It's like, looking at the history books. Someone who said this, I think it was Jordan Peterson, that said it's interesting to look through the history books from the eyes of the perpetrator, and you'll see history a little differently. And you probably will, and that's the thing, right? So looking at it from a different perspective is good. If you're on the right side of things, if you generally vote conservative, or if you generally think conservative about a lot of things, there are ideas and there are votes and there are bills and there are laws that both sides are going to be happy, because we all live together. We're all brothers and sisters. And whether my neighbor next door is conservative or he's a Democrat, he's a liberal, he's a Republican, whatever it is, he's still my neighbor, right? And it's the same goes for religion, right? Because at the end of the day, I know I say right a lot. I'm sorry. Geez, I know I say that a lot. But at the end of the day, the guy next to you is your neighbor first, right? I said it again. But the guy next to you is your neighbor first. Then he has political views. Then he has religious views. Those religious views, and those political views, and those ethical views make up who he is, of course. But first, he's your neighbor, and first you need to live beside him. Same goes on the other side. And the same goes to the people in your family. The people in your family are your family. You want to live harmonious with them. You want them to thrive. You want them to be happy and to prosper. So first you love them. And that's the key for anything. Any person, any human in the world that you encounter, anybody walking. And that's why I have my new background here, the giant heart. That's why I have it, because everybody from every walk of life and every single ethnicity and opinion and constitution and every different orientation and every different whatever, you need to respect and you need to love and you need to value every single person. Now, it doesn't mean that ideas are all valuable. It doesn't. It doesn't mean that everybody's actions are equal. No, it doesn't mean that everything you do is acceptable and everything I do is acceptable. No, we still need to have value. We still need to have personal judgment, right? We still need to know what's right and wrong. We still need to know that's just it, right and wrong. When it comes to politics, it's difficult and I know it's difficult because I haven't figured it out. I don't know anybody who's figured it out. But it's difficult because a lot of times it just seems like this machine is just going. This bullshit machine is just going and going and going. And maybe the future is, of politics is actually podcasting. Maybe the future is online. See what happens. Maybe the future is going to be online voting. Who knows? There's probably more ways to screw with that. There's more ways to mess with that. I mean, the last round of voting was far from smooth, right? So I don't know what it is. But what I'm interested in is getting more into politics, talking more about politics and having more feedback and getting to hear what people are thinking about, really the grassroots movement, the grassroots idea, even more so than Fatso Radio. Not even more so, maybe the same as Fatso Radio, because Fatso Radio is all about the individual. And this is also all about the individual, but in a greater scheme, in a greater idea of how are we thinking about our country? How are we thinking about our town? How are we thinking about our province, our states, like I said, our country, our continent, our world? The thinking from the global perspective, you can do that sometimes, but oftentimes you can't. Oftentimes it's really hard to think in a global perspective because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, the guy next door to you is the guy next door to you. He's your neighbor, and your mom's your mom, your dad's your dad. And while it is important what's going on in China, it's important what's going on in Russia and India, and I wish those people the best, and they wish us the best as well, right? If I have nothing against them, I'm pretty sure they have nothing against me. I don't know. I hope they have nothing against me, And I would hope that they probably think the same thing, because at the end of the day, we want to be happy. We want to feed our families. We just want to go out, we want to create, we want to spread love. And that's my idea. And hopefully we can spread love in a political way. That's why I'm teaming up with my buddy Desi. I'm going to do a little teaser here, not too much yet, but me and Desi are working on something. I don't want to announce it yet, but Desi at Desmond Silva, good Desmond from high school, good buddy Desmond way back from high school. We kept in chat. He's been on the show a few times. We're working on something, and it's going to be politically related. So I'm going to link it to the podcast. We're going to share it, and we're going to hopefully get people over there. We're going to share our listeners and share our viewers as well. But really, it's going to be a podcast focused on and dedicated around the political discussion, the political talk. What are we doing? What's the voice? What are we hearing about? And what do you think? What do you feel? There's so much noise. There's so much noise going on. I don't know what to hear. I don't know what to believe. Most people don't know what to hear or believe anymore. Where are you getting your news from? In Canada, I'm very curious. Where are you getting your news from? Is it online? Is it CTV? Is it CBC? Is it CBS? Is it not CBS? Is it CTV, CBC, CTV, I guess. I don't know what else is there. In the US, where are you getting your news from? I mean, the online sources, of course. The whatever, you name it. I don't even want to plug anybody, but all those online sources, where are you getting it from? It's important to talk about it. There's so many different podcasts going on, and there's so many different great areas and great ways to get information. That's just it. That's what I'm trying to do. That's what we're going to try and do. Desi and I are going to have a lot of conversations. We're hopefully going to bring a lot of people on board. But even without that, my political views and what I want to bring is just an honest look, like I said, from the perspective of what's the best way we can keep this village going? What's the best way we can keep this village safe, keep our village healthy, let us grow, and encourage our village to keep on growing, right? And to take care of ourselves, right? Every single, I said it a lot, but every single culture that I can think of, every single family that I can think of, their first priority was their family. Their first priority was the structure of the family. The reason why houses are built strong is to protect the family. The reason why any building is strong is to protect people. The structure in the family, it's so important, and the village is so important, and the community is so important. And this is what we're trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to extend this. I'm still going to have a million episodes about Fatso Radio, about fat, and about weight loss and how that's going and all that stuff. But I want to, like I said, talk a little bit about political, because I think it's becoming important. It's always important, of course, politics, but I think it's becoming important specifically for everyday guys like me and you, everyday gals like me and you, sister, for us to just talk and to have some real discussions from someone. I'm not in Ottawa. I'm not in politics. But I still need to know what's going on. And if you know what's going on and I don't, let me know. Come on the show. Talk to me. Enlighten me, because I'm going to tell the guy next door. If you have something good to tell me, if you have some information, some education, great. I'll educate my neighbor. I'll educate my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad. We all have a lot to learn, right? This is a lifelong battle, lifelong learners. That's where we all are. I mean, whether you like it or not, you are forced to learn for the rest of your life. You're forced to change for the rest of your life. So what does that mean? Who knows? Who knows what it means, and who knows where we're going to go with that. But I think it's important, and especially today, because of the internet, because of social media, because of things like freedom of speech. There's a lot of things that I wanted to talk about. There's a lot of things I'm going to talk about once I start really going a little bit more political. But really, just to touch on it, is things like free speech, right? Free speech is in jeopardy right now. I know it's I'm not going to shit on any platform specifically, but when free speech is limited, when free speech is censored, or when speech is limited and speech is censored, rather, it's not free speech anymore. Now, there's definitely controversy around that. There's different opinions around that. If I have a forum, whether it's looks public or not, but if I have a forum and you have rules to be on that forum, of course, those are the rules. And if you don't follow those rules, then I can kick you off this forum, of course. Where it gets complicated, when something gets so big, that it's really, treated like a utility, or treated like something that is sort of mainstream, like a road, like a public utility, something that the public can use. And it's not really. So that's where I understand you can't really go to McDonald's and go against everything that McDonald's believes in, you know, and expect McDonald's to still welcome you in their establishment. I get that 100%. But things like free speech, they're super important. It's super important because it's the foundation of our society. Without free speech, you can't rationalize, you can't discuss, you can't reason, you can't form opinions, you can't judge whether something is good or evil, or something is good or bad. You really can't. So free speech is essential. It is so important. But also things like free healthcare. That's important to talk about. And what does it mean? And what does it mean? Just not free healthcare, but social healthcare, right? Or government healthcare. Ending the wars. That needs to be talked about. Whatever side of the spectrum you're on, that needs to be talked about. Ending the war on drugs, that needs to be talked about as well. We're seeing a lot of progress, of course, especially in Canada. We're seeing a lot of progress in the States, in the West Coast, seeing a lot of progress. That's amazing. We need to keep that up. Just the wars itself, ending the wars. My goodness. Let's work on that, folks. Let's work on that, okay? Pollution, things like that. The climate, you know, the climate discussion is not simple. By no means is simple. I don't have any answers about it, but I do want to talk about it. Things like UFOs, I want to talk about that as well. Hey, disclosure. We've been talking about disclosure for a long time. It seems like every year they're saying a couple more years and they're going to let everything out. A couple more months and they're going to let everything out. We'll see. We'll see about that. So that's what I want to talk about tonight, guys. Gals, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to check out our sponsor tonight, Volpe Martial Arts. Every night, Volpe Martial Arts. Every night, sponsor is Volpe Martial Arts. VolpeMartialArts.com. Check them out. Sifu Adams, my brother, brings you his lifelong passion, Hapkido and Kung Fu, right to your door. Right now, it's virtual. We're going to go back in the Kung pretty soon. I believe it's next week or the week after. VolpeMartialArts.com. Also tonight, I want to give a big shout out. It's not an official sponsor, but I want to give a big shout out to El Barbudo Co. El Barbudo Beard Company, elbarbudoco.com. Beard products, folks. Beard oil, beard butter, beard wax. No, beard oil, beard butter, beard balm. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'll put the link in the show notes. Check it out. Check it out. I feel good. Beard feels good. It's nice and soft. I have the balm. It's like Latino inspired scents. Oh my God, it's amazing. I've been doing this all day. It's amazing. But I have, what do I have? I have Guanaco. That's right. Guanaco or Guanaco. It's probably not pronounced Guanaco. I don't know. Guanaco. It's beautiful. It's like lemony, lemongrass, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of, I don't know what's in it. I do know what's in it, but I can't remember off the top of my head. My kids love it. I like it. It's soft. It's good for the skin. It's good for my face. It's amazing. It even helps shape it a little bit because it has the little bit of wax in there. It's amazing. elbarbudoco.com. Check it out. Mario is a good buddy of mine. He was on the podcast last week. Great products. Handmade, folks. Handmade a mano. So check it out. The last thing I want to kind of throw a little line out there to see if anybody's interested. I'm sure you are interested, but I may start a new channel as well. Another kind of avenue that I'm going to is going to be a comedy channel. I'm going to try and focus really on comedy, really focus hard on comedy. I'm going to really see what I can do, see if I can put out some good content for you. And if you laugh, good. All right, folks. Thanks so much for listening to Fatso Radio. You can always email me at fatsoradio@gmail.com. Don't forget, even if you're not into politics, there's 104 other episodes. Not all of them are about nutrition. Not all of them about fat loss and feeling better and thriving and being optimal. Not all of them about that. Some of them about some crazy things. Not that crazy. Check it out. fatsoradio@gmail.com is my email address. Email me. Let me know if you want to be on the show. Let me know if you have any ideas. Let me know if you want to start a show with me. Hey, this is the internet, folks. We can start a million shows. Well, not a million. You know what I mean? Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your likes. Subscribe wherever the button is. And when you hit subscribe, make sure you hit the notification so you get alerted. I hate saying that, but I have to tell you because subscribe alone is not good enough. Thanks for everybody. Thank you. I love you. Fatso Radio. The logo or not the logo, the theme song. Fatso Radio. Well, I was going to say thanks for listening. I love you all. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, great Friday night. Wow, February 5th already. That's amazing. I love you all. Peace. Let's say bye to everybody. Bye. And we'll say thanks for listening. Say thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
So get your butt and get in your chair.
Don't eat your nails and don't pull your hair.
We'll talk about chicken or talk about steak.
We'll talk about fat, for goodness sake.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, our very first podcast show.